Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Episode 5 is here, and it's going to be a tough one. It's a Debbie Downer kind of week for me, very frustrating with some of the results, and hopefully I will be able to get past those and not worry about these ever again because we are going to do nothing but win. In the famous words of GJ Khaled. But there were some bright spots, some waiver wire fool's gold, but also waiver wire gold. Some of it's just going to take a little longer to come to fruition. There were some big losses. There were some big wins. There were some spots where I really thought I could have done a little better. But in any case, let's go ahead and get to the Cheese Weasels. I am excited to talk about this team because last week we were in second place with 117 points. Well, I would have been excited had we not fallen by 20 points and fallen to 6th spot with 98.5 points. As frustrating as that is, it is very early in the year. It's a year-long league, so my points and stats will accumulate, so I'm not too terribly worried about it. Definitely need to bump up those numbers and make sure we get some of these guys off the IL. We also need to be looking at guys on the waiver wire, and we were able to add one in Maikel Garcia, who had 3 stolen bases and 5 RBIs for me, so that was great. Trey Turner had a big week with 11 hits, and I had 2 home runs each from Yordan Alvarez and Tyler O'Neill. Some big pitching results from Aaron Nola, who had 10 strikeouts and a win, and I had 2 saves each from Kirby Yates and Camilo Doval. Now, some of the guys that went cold for me. MJ Melendez. Ooh, man, you have not found a hit in the past week, and that's very disappointing because you're my only catcher. 2 other guys, Colton Cowser, who was facing adversity for the first time in his major league career, and Michael Busch. Dude, you're my only first baseman since Berger went down, so I need you, Cowser and Melendez, to start finding some production at the plate. And of course, pitching-wise, Craig Kimbrell was hurt. He blew a save, and hopefully he will avoid the IL. But if he goes on the IL, 1, that won't be surprising, but 2, that will also just mean more people on the IL for me. I only have, a few spots, so let's hope that he is healthy and is able to come back pretty quickly. Speaking of health, as we move to the adds and drops, some of these guys were added because other guys need to be released because of IL or injuries in general. But one of the biggest guys I was able to snag off the waiver wire was Spencer Strider. Yes, Spencer Strider from the Atlanta Braves, who had a huge year last year. Now, what you did in the past doesn't necessarily dictate what you're going to do in the future. However, someone dropped him. It's a keeper league. I plan to keep him. He's going to be coming back next year, hopefully at least, a little ways into it. So I'm hoping he gets back to his dominant self. Some of the ads included Bryce Terang, Maikel Garcia, like we already talked about, Zach Little, also Joe Ryan, and Randy Arozarena. Now, I hate Randy Arozarena. I think he's cocky and arrogant. I know they're synonyms. I hate when he's like, I hate when he does it. I hate it. But in any case, someone dropped him, so I picked him up. And a few offers later, I also dropped him. Hate it for you, bud. We also picked up Aurelvis Martinez, who is mashing at the AAA level for the Blue Jays, and also Mitchell Parker because he had a pretty good matchup. Now, as we get to the drops, you'll see some of these are big names. Some of these guys are going to be back on our team here shortly. Some of these guys are never going to be on our team because they've already been picked up. But if they continue to perform at their very low level currently, they're going to be back open there. We dropped Joe Ryan, Joe Musgrove. We also dropped Merrill Kelly because of injury, Randy Arozarena, Zach Little, and Mitch Haniger along with Mitchell Parker. So the goal is get these points back up, jump up in the standings, and for the love of God, get some of these guys off the IL so that I can actually play them. And now we're going to move to the Kenton Murphy Dingers. This week was a frustrating week for me because I had this in the bag through Friday, and then I just kicked a rock, I guess. So there were a few things that really went wrong for me in this loss. 2 categories to 8 categories. First of all, the other guy had Gunnar Henderson. Almost enough said. The other guy also just had really good pitching. Like, we both hit almost 50 innings pitched, and his ERA was like 2.8, and his whip was 1.0. So that's tough to beat. However, it did not help me that Joe Musgrove, Aaron Savali, and Mitch Keller did very little for that to improve. They definitely got lit up in their outings, and that was super frustrating. Something that did help me was the fact that I racked up the saves again. Last week I had 11 total saves. This week I had 13. Whoo! I have great closers. Now, some of the guys that helped me to this big loss included Aglebaum, who had a 500 plus batting average for me and 8 RBIs, and 2 home runs each from Mr. JT Realmuto, Adolis Garcia, Jose Altuve, and Riley Green. And then I had 3 saves each from Mason Miller, for the Athletics, and Jason Foley, so that was great. We already talked about some of the disappointments. My starting pitching. You all blow. The ads and drops for this week are a little wonky because I had to make room for Heston Kjerstad coming up from the minors, and I also had to make room for a waiver wire ad that I was trying to get. Someone in my league dropped Rafael Devers. Look, I just play in the league with these guys. I don't make the rules, and I also do not tell them who to pick up and who to drop. So, someone dropped him, so I was like, yeah, I need a third baseman because mine got hurt after his second at-bat of the season. So, I dropped Evan Carter. I know he's going to be good, but at this point in time, I have 3 or 4 really good outfielders, and I have 2 pretty good first basemen, and I needed a third baseman. But in any case, I digress. We'll keep going. The ads were pretty pitcher heavy. We included Keaton Winn, Trevor Williams, Mitchell Parker, Albert Suarez, mainly because they all had great matchups. And the only one that did anything with it was Keaton Winn. So thank you, sir, matching your last name. And Luis Garcia, because Holiday was sent down, and Altuve didn't have a game. Someone dropped or released Luis Garcia, and I was like, let me see what you produce for me, and you did nothing for me. So we already got to the drops. Keaton Winn, let's drop Trevor Williams, Luis Garcia, and Mitchell Parker. Because I did not mention Rafael Devers again, you probably realize we did not pick him up, which is very disappointing. Definitely looking to make sure that's one of the last losses we have. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm also being confident because we're going to be moving to the Fantrax League and talking about the Funky Junky Joker Monkeys. Coming off a big win last week where, as long as we played the guys with the pulse, we were going to win. This week, we did have to try a little harder, and it was a little too close for comfort, even though the guy didn't have enough pitching. I'm getting a little worried because some of my guys I have starting are not producing, and some of the guys I have sitting are producing so much more and actually doing what I need them to do. In any case, I did win this week, 430 to 357. Some of my top scorers included Pablo Lopez with 35. Mark Canha with 34. Jose Altuve with 28. Bailey Ober with 27. And finally, Salvador Perez with 25. So very happy with him. Now, I do have several guys who underperformed big time. Like, big time. First of all, Freddie Peralta. He got me 9 points. Dude, you're like one of the best pitchers in the game. 9 points, really? Bryce Miller, 7. Joe Musgrove, 4. Chris Sanchez, 3.5. And Trevor Williams, 1. I blew starch on you guys. Y'all are getting single-digit points. The ads and drops this week were dominated by pitching as usual. The ads included Colin Ray, Trevor Williams, Cole Irvin, Lars Nootbaar, who I know is not a pitcher, Tyler Alexander, and Simeon Woods Richardson. He had a pretty good matchup and performed pretty well. The drops also did include some of these same guys. Trevor Williams, Colin Ray, Steven Alexander, but also Steven Matz, Andrew Haney, and Chaz McCormick. Hopefully we'll be able to bounce back this week and be stronger and better with our starts and have a more convincing win. We're going to switch platforms and talk about the ESPN leagues as we head down the stretch. We are going to start with the Russell My Gym Jams team. This week was a pretty bad one. We cut the L5 categories to 9 categories to 2 categories. The key contributors included JT Realmuto and Jose Altuve, who both had 2 home runs for me, and key contributors in all categories, including Nate Lowe, Luis Rengifo, JT Realmuto, and CJ Abrams. Nate Lowe is the only one who did not have a stolen base in that group, so definitely looking for them to continue producing for me, and definitely looking for the following guys to start producing for me. MJ Melendez has not had a hit all week. Jeimer Candelario did not have a hit for me at all this week. The ads for me this week included Simeon Woods Richardson, Trevor Williams, Cole Irvin, Albert Suarez, and Hector Neris, while the drops included Spencer Turnbull, Colin Poach, Trevor Williams, Cole Irvin, and Jeimer Candelario. As we move from one bad loss, we're going to move to a huge winner with the South Harmon Institute of Technology. This team has a lot to live up to. It was my last remaining team last year in the championships, and I did make it, and I did tie the guy, and tie goes to the highest seed, so I end up coming in second, so that's frustrating. However, this week, I made sure to get myself back into the right state of mind as I won 15 categories to 0 categories to 3 categories. Woo! Bryce Strang had 3 stolen bases for me. Freddie Freeman had 6 walks and 6 RBIs, while Freeman, as well as Elias Diaz and Michael Conforto, had 11 total bases or more. So that's pretty amazing. I also had no blown saves, so that's also pretty amazing. There were so many adds and drops, so you can see them beside my face. There were a lot of guys that just were not producing for me. There were guys going to IL. There were guys who, again, just were not doing what they needed to do, so they did need to be dropped. But I'm also looking forward to seeing this team and these players continue to improve. We just finished the first month of the season, so I'm not expecting the best out of every single one of them. And I am looking to see them turn the corner as we get into warmer weather, as we get into the second month of the season. So we're going to be looking to make improvements and, again, get back to the championship game. And the last team we're going to talk about is the Peach Creek Purgatory team. This team was the one I was most excited about coming into for this year. I have a powerhouse of a team. I've made great roster acquisitions. I have made some big drops. I've made some big pickups. And I've definitely done everything I can to get this team into tip-top prime shape. And I had every intention of going undefeated. I did not think anyone was going to be able to touch me. Well, I ate that humble pie this week as I lost 900 to 786. Really, there are no words to convey the frustration because it was my fault. There were guys who got starts and they did not produce. There were guys that I sat who definitely performed a whole heck of a lot better than they were expected to and what my starter did. And I just, my players themselves, like, I didn't have good weeks from everyone. Now, again, it's early in the season. I am 4-1. I'm not worried about it, but that's frustrating to me because my team's phenomenal. And we lost to a team that I really don't think we should. However, that team is also 4-1. So 2 of the better teams going at it. We'll be able to skate by with this one. However, I do not want it to happen again. Some of the top performers included Max Fried with 59. He had a complete game shutout, and that was phenomenal, and I pissed it away because I couldn't win. Also, Trey Turner had 58 points, Christian Walker had 50 points, and Riley Green had 41 points. So, thank you to those 4 who contributed at least 41 points to my cause. And now for the guys that really did not help my case. First of all, Trevor Williams and Freddie Peralta both only got 9 points. Y'all were starters who had really good matchups. And you got me 9 points. Freddie Peralta, you couldn't even get out of the 5th inning. Come on, man. Trevor Williams, you were going against the Marlins. The Marlins. In any case, Ryan Weathers also had a great matchup. But he was going against the White Sox. You got me 1 point, dude. What the? Really? 1 point? That's 3 starters who combined for 17 points for me. 17 points. Really, dude? That should have at least been 60 points. And Jose Soriano, what in God's name? You got me -8. The adds and drops, as usual, we dominated by pitching. We added Jose Soriano. Mistake. We added Timmy Woods Richardson. Could have done better. We added Albert Suarez. Couldn't get out of the 4th against the Athletics. Also, Gabe Spear. We were trying to get a little bit of magic coming from Seattle here in the last day. And then we also added Travis d'Arnaud because he had a 40-point game. And I was hoping maybe we get another 40-point game from him. We did not. And the drops included Bowden Francis. Unfortunate because he would be a long relief guy. He was able to get me points here and there. He is gone for a little bit with an injury. Jose Soriano, which I should have never added in the first place. We also had to drop Lucas Giolito. I was holding him for next year because he's a good pitcher when he's on, but, he's hurt, so he's not going to be of any help to us. We also dropped Joe Ross and Ross Stripling. So overall, 2 of my teams, Funky Junkie Joker Monkeys and Peach Creek Purgatory, I am 4-1. Kent Murphy Dingers, I'm 2-2. Russell by Jim James and South Harmon Institute of Technology. I'm hovering right at or right below 500 and currently in 6th in the Cheese Whizzles League. So definitely room for improvement. Definitely looking forward to bouncing back. Some of the guys that you should add if you haven't already. Ty Black, he was called up by the Brewers. Second base eligibility. Third base eligibility, I believe. So look at him. Or Elvis Martinez. Holy cow. We talked about how this guy didn't have a look at the majors because he was blocked by so many guys from the Blue Jays. Second eligibility, third, shortstop, and outfield. Someone is going to get the boot to have this guy because he's mashing at AAA. Also, I would look, if you haven't already, Simeon Woods Richardson. Now, he's not going to blow you away, but he seems like he has enough to warrant addition in some leagues. Eric Fetty. I know it's going to sound weird. He pitched in KBO last year, maybe the last 2 years, and isn't the sexiest sounding name, but he currently has a 2.6 ERA and like a 1.1 whip. So, dude, he's pitching for the White Sox. Get this magic in a bottle while you can, because it will not last. It will not. So get Eric Fetty where you can, when you can, and see how long it can last for you. Thank you for joining for episode 5. I'm looking forward to talking to you more about next week and hopefully bringing you a better update for more wins and better results this upcoming week. This is Jay Cake, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.